With regards to the issue of numerous military alliances in the region and the need to unify them, I believe that there are interests that countries have that are very regional in nature that cause them to come together. But I wouldn't describe it as a multiple alliances within the Arab world. I think we have the GCC, and we have security arrangements with a number of our other partners, Egypt, Jordan. So I don't think that the issue is we have too many alliances in the Middle East. With regards to the issue of Iran and a strategy for Iran, and the Obama administration and Trump administration not containing Iran, I think our strategy regarding Iran has been fairly effective in the past few years. We have isolated Iran in the Islamic world. We have isolated Iran in Africa. Iran's friends or relationships are shrinking. Now the Iranians are facing severe sanctions. Those sanctions will become even worse beginning in November. I think there's a realization that Iran, as the primary state sponsor of terrorism in the world, cannot continue with business as usual. So that is progress. With regards to the issue of the Trump administration, we went through challenging times with the Obama administration. That would be an understatement. We saw the Middle East unravel. We saw reluctance and hesitancy in providing weapons to the moderate Syrian opposition, which led to essentially the Russians intervening in order to save Bashar al-Assad from collapsing. This was a strategic mistake on the part of the Obama administration. Drawing a red line and not enforcing it causes countries to not respect you and causes them to be more emboldened. So now we have the Trump administration, President Trump, and then you have this notion of we're pivoting to Asia, which again creates the impression that a vacuum is being created in the Middle East. And whenever you have a vacuum, evil forces flow into it. So all of this was playing into the hands of the Iranians. President Trump comes into office and says, I will protect America's allies, I will protect America's interests, I will fight terrorists, and I will not lecture our friends and allies. And that is a rational, realistic foreign policy that all of us in the Gulf subscribe to. What has he done? He has defeated ISIS in Syria because he wasn't hesitant about deploying force in order to get the job done. He has defeated ISIS in Iraq when it took years for the Obama administration to make any progress. He has put Iran on notice that business as usual cannot continue. He has imposed sanctions against Iran, with more to come, as I mentioned. And so yes, Iran is contained. And Iran will become more contained. And Iran will have to decide if it wants to continue to pay a severe price, or if it wants to become a respected member of the international community. And for Iran to do that, it has to stop its nuclear program, it has to stop its missile program, it has to stop its support for terrorism and its interference in the affairs of other countries. It's that simple. So yes, we are walking in lockstep with the United States as the United States of America, as our strategic ally. And America has a president who wants to protect its interests and be more robust in doing so. And we support that. And it's not about partisan politics, it's about national interests. National interest for the US, national interest for Saudi Arabia. Now, the other question I think that came up was one about the GCC and the different coordinating councils. The GCC remains the GCC. It remains the most important institution for the countries in the Gulf. We have issues with Qatar, but we have tried to make sure that it minimizes the impact on the GCC so that when those issues are resolved, the GCC can continue moving forward. We have military coordination that has not been disturbed by this tension or conflict with Qatar. We have joint military exercises. The ministerial committees, most of them meet in order to deal with functional things like health and education and what have you. And until the conflict with Qatar is resolved, the idea is to minimize the impact on the GCC because we want to preserve the GCC and we have every intention of doing so. The Turkish-Saudi relationship, Turkey is a friendly country. We have good trade and investment relations with Turkey. We have areas where our interests overlap, for example, in Syria. We both are concerned about Iran's expansionist policies. And so this is where we are. The neutral zone issue with Kuwait is one that has been resolved. We're now working out or talking about the modalities for resuming production of crude oil in that neutral zone, and I expect, God willing, that we will be able to do so fairly soon. Yes, okay, on MISA, we have been very supportive of the concept of the Middle East Security Alliance. We have had extensive discussions with the United States administration about this, as well as with our partners in the GCC. We have exchanged ideas between us, the collective us, and the United States to see what the best format for setting it up is. I think those discussions are ongoing. We held meetings in Saudi Arabia recently with all of the GCC countries, plus Jordan and Egypt, to review the ideas and see and come up with a common framework. And our discussions with the United States are still ongoing, where the ideas are still being fleshed out. The concept or the framework is still being developed, and I would say it's a work in progress. The objective is to create a security architecture that can provide security for the region against common threats. That's the objective. How we get to it, whether it's an alliance, whether it's a treaty, whether this is something that the discussions are still ongoing, and I expect we've covered a lot of ground, but there's more that we need to work on, and all of us are in those discussions among ourselves in the region, as well as between us and the United States. So we're very supportive of it. We think it would contribute to stability and security in the region, and we think it would enhance the relationship between the countries of the region and the United States.